Okay, this is chapter 4. The chapter on cancer. I'm just going to read the introduction, and then we will get started with the PowerPoint. Cancer malignancy is not a single disease. Over 100 different types and subtypes of human cancer affect the young and old and involve nearly every tissue or organ in the body. Cancer has a profound emotional and physical impact for the patient and is associated with significant morbidity or complications and possible mortality or death. Cancer is the leading cause of death worldwide and afflicts 2 of every 3 families. You don't have to know all of the numbers for that, coincidentally. Deaths from cancer worldwide are projected to continue to rise, with the estimated 9 million deaths projected in 2015, so on and so on. In the U.S., approximately 1 of every 2 men and 1 of every 3 women will be diagnosed with an invasive cancer in his or her lifetime. So that is quite a bit, and it's just growing. So we're going to look at your PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and look to slide number 5. Neoplasm, the classification of cancer. You have a lot of key terms here that you're going to need to know. The first is neoplasm, and that means new or new growth. So when we have a neoplasia, that means uncontrolled growth of cells, usually cancer cells. Neoplasm or tumor is a mass of cells that grow more rapidly than normal cells. And then when we have cancer, or when we have a lesion, it's either benign or malignant. Benign means non-cancerous. Malignant does mean cancerous. And it means that it's cancerous and can invade other organs. And that's where we get the word that we call metastasize. Metastasize means a cancer that spreads rapidly. So again, benign, non-cancerous. Malignant is cancerous that has the ability to invade. Metastasize is a cancer that has invaded other tissues or other organs, and usually at different sites. We're going to look at table 4.1 here. This just kind of shows you the classifications of tumors, and this is known as the TNM system. The tumor, we need to know how big the tumor is, the T1 through T4, like the size and the extent of the tumor, how deep it is. The N stands for nodes, and that's the regional lymph nodes, any kind of distant lymph nodes, and involvement of regional lymph nodes, like the extent of how it's spread in 1 through 3. And then we have M for metastasis, and this means that, where it's metastasized to. Is it close by or is it distant? And we define that as MO, meaning no distant metastasis, and M1, meaning that we do have distant metastasis. Like, for instance, if you have liver cancer that has metastasized to the brain, that is considered an M1. So that is table 4.1, and I mainly just want you to know that we stage cancer, or we classify tumors by the T and M system. T for tumor, N for nodes, M for metastasis. Okay, on to the next slide, which is table 4.2. This is the nomenclature of selected benign and malignant tumors. Epithelial cells, these are pretty common. Your benign lesions here are your adenomas, your papillomas, your squamous cell papillomas, your liver cell adenomas, and your renal tubular adenomas. And then your malignant epithelial cell lesions are going to be your adenosarcomas, your squamous cell carcinomas, your any kind of carcinoma or sarcoma is usually going to be a malignant. And then connective tissue, we're going to have the benign is a fibroma, lipoma, osteoma, etc., etc. And then our malignant ones are fibrosarcoma. So here you have the sarcoma, meaning that it's usually malignant. So you can look over there. I may just For a question like this, I may just ask you to name an example of a benign and malignant. So I don't want you to necessarily memorize the entire table, because that is quite a bit of different benign and malignant terms here. Let's go into the characteristics of benign tumors. They are classified according to their tissue of origin. If a cancer is encapsulated, and it may not say this in your book, I'm not sure if it does or not, but if it's encapsulated, this means that it's carcinoma in situ, and that's N like IN, and then SITU for situ. So when a carcinoma or any kind of cancer is encapsulated, that means it's called carcinoma in situ. So if we have, again, a cancer of the liver, then we're going to have a hepatic sarcoma or whatever it is in situ. So if we have a benign tumor, it's usually going to be encapsulated. It's going to have defined edges, and usually malignant ones will not have defined edges at all. They'll be all over the place. They do not metastasize. They usually do not reoccur. They're usually differentiated. It just resembles normal tissue, so nothing out of the ordinary there. The next slide just gives you the statistics that I already read to you. Let's go on to cancer progression. I'm trying to see where we are, what page. I think I've lost the page here. Anyway, cancer progression, the slide number 11. This begins with transformation of cells to cancer cells, and this includes an initiation, a promotion, and a progression. So those are the different stages of transformation that we're going to talk about. Table 4.3, you don't really have to know that. That's just kind of there if you wanted to look at it. So let's look at the biology of cancer on page 59. I'm sorry, my nose is itching. We're going to talk about the normal cell growth. Now let's talk about a term called carcinogenesis. This means when Genesis, think about the first book of the Bible, it means the beginning. So the beginning of a cancer. So that's what that means. Mutation, any kind of virus or anything can mutate and change. An oncogene, look at that. This is a gene that when it's mutated or expressed at abnormally high levels contributes to converting a normal cell into a cancer cells. So oncogenes are the ones that will make regular cells become cancer cells. Then we have a tumor suppressor gene. And let's see, let's look at page 60. And these, this is when a normal cell comes to a malignant cell. Let's see, and it says, but also by inactivation or deletion of tumor suppressor genes or TSGs. So it's kind of involved in a lot of different functions there. And then we have the DNA repair genes on page 60. And these are also known as caretaker genes. So they're going to be responsible for the repair of errors in normal DNA replication. So those are the different biology of cancer. Let's go into the etiology of cancer. Let's talk about epidemiology. You may have heard of that, but epidemiology, this is what the study of what diseases or what things can affect a community. With this, we have endogenous and environmental. So these are the different causes of cancer. So endogenous, we look in genetics. Environmental, we have tobacco, chemicals, diet, alcohol, chronic infections, medicinal carcinogens. This means a carcinogen is anything that causes cancer or is cancer causing, and medicinal means medicine. So any type of medicine that could have caused a cancer. So a lot of women take estrogen, and estrogen has been proven to cause certain cancers. So that could be an environmental risk factor for you for the cause of cancer. Um, let's keep going. You have a video slide here. Let's go on and talk about the classification of cancer. We have tumors, which you probably normally hear, and in neoplasia, like I already said, you have benign, which is non-cancerous, and malignant, which means cancerous. And then with malignant, you have a metastasis, or metastases is the plural form of it, and that means that it's moved from one organ or one tissue to other tissues or other organs, whether right beside the primary tumor or whether on the other side of the body. It doesn't matter. Alright, let's keep it going and talk about some terms with cancers. The first one being a carcinoma. And carcinomas are going to take place in epithelial cells. So on the skin mainly, or on the surface of organs. So you may have heard of a basal cell carcinoma, a squamous cell carcinoma. So carcinomas are going to be on epithelial cells. Then we have sarcomas, and these are going to be connective tissues. Then we may have a mixed cancer. We may have it, maybe it started in the epithelial tissue and it's moved to the connective tissue, and that's lymphoma, is a tumor that's in the lymph tissue. Leukemia is cancer in the white blood cells. Then we have melanoma, which is a skin cancer that's the abnormal cells in the melanin, which gives you your skin color. So those are all the different types of terms that you're going to hear in this chapter and that you're going to read about dealing with cancer. Let's look at table 4.4 on page 6. We're gonna skip over that. You don't have to know that. Let's look at non-specific warning signs of cancer. We have changes in bowel or bladder habits, a sore that doesn't heal, unusual bleeding or discharge, thickening or a lump in the breast or any other part of the body like the testicles, indigestion or difficulty swallowing, an obvious change in a wart or a mole, and a nagging cough or hoarseness. And all of these come from the American Cancer Society. These are the most common common warning signs that you may have a cancer. Also, going with the change in a wart or a mole, if you're ever born with a mole or a beauty mark of any kind or any kind of skin marking, that is going to put you more at risk for a skin cancer or any other type of cancer. So you need to be really careful and watch those, and tell your patients to really watch those and make sure they haven't changed size, or if they start itching or burning, doing anything out of the ordinary, you should have it removed and biopsied. So let's go into, before we go into the different types of cancer, I do want to kind of talk about environmental factors that are risk factors. We have tobacco. Of course, you know, cigarette smoking is the leading cause. Your cigarette is even stronger than what you're inhaling yourself, and that can be even more deadly to a person. Industrial chemicals, you know, you've heard of people being exposed to asbestos and things of that nature. This causes, asbestos exposure causes a cancer called mesothelioma, and you've probably seen those lawyer commercials where they're wanting to get that money if somebody has been exposed to asbestos. Radiation. You may not know that you've been exposed to radiation, but radiation is a cause of leukemia. You can have radiation leaks when you have chest x-rays, any kind of radiology exposed to radiation. Diet. Eating a high-fat diet is a very good risk factor for developing cancer. So we need to have a high-fiber, low-fat diet to try to decrease that risk factor, especially for colon cancer, especially if you have issues, digestion issues. That's going to put you even more at risk. Flipping over to 62, alcohol, of course, is going to affect the liver, and that can cause liver cancer. Chronic infections that do not heal, that can put you more at risk for cancer. And then certain medicines, like I did already talk about that. So we're going to stop right there with part 1 of the lecture, and I'll start back in my next lecture with human cancers by organ sites.